What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Blog Podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal, and each and every episode of the Alliance Blog Podcast, we like to try to feature up-and-coming talent from the independent wrestling scene, as well as established names for the NWA. And this week, we have the latest signee to the NWA, Mr. Pretty Boy Smooth, and I'm going to bring him up right now. Oh, sorry about that. What's up, PV Smooth? How you doing, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. First and foremost, congratulations on the contract signing. The world of professional wrestling, it is a dog eat dog world, and to get an opportunity to get yourself a contract in this business is something that needs to be celebrated and talked about as such a positive thing. Congratulations to you to making that next step in your career and joining the NWA in official contracted status.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been 10 years of putting in work and making sacrifices on the indies and whatnot. So I'm happy that it's finally starting to pay off, and I'm proud of how I did it. I feel like I did it the right way. I just tried to be a sponge and learn as much as I can and make myself an asset to whatever company wanted to give me an opportunity. So here we are.
And it's interesting you say that to make yourself an asset. Where I mean, I think many would argue that you've been the center point of Exodus Pro, where that's kind of how you were introduced into the NWA. From your debut to winning the Midwest Championship, and now as part of the Holy Grail in hot pursuit of the Exodus Pro tag team titles. I think there's a lot to be said about not just being an asset, but kind of being the main event.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I just try to stay grounded per se in the way that I look at things. You know what I mean? Like I said, I since coming into Exodus and having the opportunity to learn from EC3 and Aaron Stevens and guys of that caliber, I just try to take advantage of all those opportunities and just try to be authentic to who I am. You know, like there's not many legitimate giants in professional wrestling at this point in time that are legitimately 6'9" and can do what I do. So I just try to take advantage of that, make my presence felt, whether it's in the ring, whether it's from a marketing standpoint and everything else. So that's really what I mean when I talk about being an asset.
Well, and look, there's nothing wrong with being humble too, right? Because I mean, anyone can come out here and say that they're the best, but you really have to back it up when you're out
Well,
there, when you're performing in front of the crowd. And
I believe that. I just don't. I don't say that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm very well aware of the work I put in that's given me the confidence to do what I do when the time comes for it. But I also know that there's a lot that I can still learn and grow, and I know I'm nowhere near my peak yet. So I'm excited for that, and I just try to stay grounded and figure out what I can.
when you mentioned EC3, and he actually appeared on this podcast a couple of years ago, and he was talking about Exodus Pro, and it was still early in the infancy of Exodus Pro. You guys just started running your matches, and he was telling me about building studs. And like the first person that he kind of mentioned was Carson Drake, because we had already seen him on Power. But of course, there is a whole cast of characters being built, developed, and polished at Exodus Pro. I'd also, not only do I include you, but I'd also add guys like Dante Casanova, who I think is an absolute stud, and you guys like Cow Hero and Anthony Green. I know he's getting his bookings elsewhere, but a lot of great talent I feel is coming out of Exodus Pro. What can you tell me about your experiences with EC3, his mentorship, and what Exodus Pro is about? Because it's not, you didn't go to Exodus Pro to train; they really more polished you, right?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say first and foremost is EC3 is like a brother to me. We have this running joke that he's the Eminem to my 50 Cent.
There you
uh
go.
and
There you
and
go.
and the thing with him, aside from him being like an incredible cosign, because I've never really had that from a top guy in professional wrestling or in the indies or anything. The thing with him is he is a leader that shows you through action. So, for instance, when I came in Exodus and he was still the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, he was defending that championship everywhere,
Yeah.
like in out the country, in the country. Like I mean, you saw it for your own eyes, the kind of things he was doing. And he always was a leader that didn't make excuses. He's always in incredible shape. He's always putting the guys first, and that's the kind of leader I want to be. So I kind of just followed his footsteps. When I won the NWA Midwest Championship, I just tried to take it everywhere I could and do the things that I did, and that all just comes from the head of it all the way down. Like I'm trying to inspire the younger guys because we have a group of younger guys that are really talented and that are going to be top guys. Like Connor Knox is coming up. Brandon Beretta is awesome. Like we are flooded with talent and guys that are ambitious and hardworking and want to get there. So we're gonna make it happen.
You brought up the former champ EC3 and him taking that title everywhere. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Southern California, and he brought the title to me. He brought the title out here to Southern California, literally 30 minutes away from where I live. So, as someone who's traveled the world to see the 10 pounds of gold, it was really cool to have the 10 pounds of gold come to me for once. I mean, just to kind of show you that how committed I am to the NWA. I was there in Philly for your guys' Crockett Cup. I was there at the Crockett Cup back in Nashville a few years ago, and even when Nick Aldis was world champion, I was one of the few people that got to see that live when he went to China. I actually went with those guys to see him defend the 10 pounds of gold in China because it was something that hadn't happened before and probably wouldn't happen again. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that was an amazing experience.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, but to see that the NWA, again, as someone who's been covering it for almost 20 years now, the ebbs and flows, the superstars that have come and gone, and it's to me, it's exciting to see what Exodus Pro is doing because again, you know, when people ask me about NWA Power and what do I like about it, it's the quality of talent, the wealth of talent that is represented on Power, and to see guys like in a short amount of time, we've seen a lot of wrestlers come and go.
Sorry,
And
my cat is like running around like a nutcase. I'm listening to you.
no, you're all good. We see talent come and go, but now with the territory system kind of in place, we're seeing the quality talent from the independents, go through the territories and then get filtered up to the NWA. Like, the Country Gentlemen were kind of like the first tag team that we saw come from, Joe Kazana Promotions, of course, Carson Drake, yourself, kind of filtering up from Exodus Pro, and now we have the Slime Balls, and of course, we've had a few appearances of Dante Casanova in the past as well. But we're seeing the talent come from the territories rather than the guy who left the WWE or the guy who is a free agent. We're starting to see the NWA develop its own talent, and again, I think it says so much about what EC3 has been doing there with you guys in Exodus Pro, and of course what Joe Kazana and his guys are doing out in JCP. And then, just I was watching, reading, looking at your title history as that Midwest champion. I mean, you again, you're very humble, and I can respect that.
Yeah.
But you really did take that title all over Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Texas, and even across the border in Ontario. A title that was meant to be very regional based. You really kind of made it something bigger than what it was. And was that by design, by accident, or is that something that you know
Um,
did just happen?
so for me, I've always believed that the man makes the title, not the title makes the man. So being the first champion to hold that, I felt like I needed to make an impact. You know what I mean? And before winning that championship, I was the Rise Grand Champion at Rise Wrestling in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, which is like a smaller indie that people didn't know about at the time. But my thing is, you can reach out to all these promoters and all these other places that are like the big names or the super indies or whatever. But if you don't get opportunities there, you have to make the best of the opportunities that you do have and make yourself like known and your presence felt there. So when I won the Rise Championship, like I was putting out content every week. I was defending the title there. I even got the opportunity to fly to Vegas and wrestle JTG to defend that championship. So pretty much, and I did photo shoots. I did a whole bunch of stuff. But the thing was, me going through that experience and helping put Rise as a place that more people look at the time. is what prepared me to be the Midwest champion. I just took that same formula and that same blueprint, and I made it a bigger deal because I had the NWA machine behind me. So, like I said, at the end of the day, it becomes the guy makes the title, not the title makes the guy. And I was able to defend it against Myron Reed and Donovan Dijak and elsewhere. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and I'm one of those people that if you put the ball in my hands, I'm trying to run with it as far as I can.
Real quick in the chat, they want to know what's your cat's name.
Okay, so I have two cats. That one is John Wick. He
All
is he
right.
is yeah, but he has not a violent bone in his body. He's soft. And then I have a purebred Maine Coon named Millie, and I have two dogs.
You got a lot
Um,
of animals.
yeah, it's like Jumanji in this house. They keep me busy, and I'm actually in the process of moving into a bigger house soon. So like, there's just stuff everywhere. But
Well,
yeah,
congratulations on the move, onward
thank
and
you.
upward. Hopefully, I
Well, yeah, I
see.
got money for it now.
Well, there it is. There it is. You get the upgrade, right?
Yeah,
So I was kind of doing my research, and I saw that you were trained by Johnny Gargano, Pepper Parks, and Candice LeRae, as well as Aaron Draven. Were you aware that Pepper Parks was a former NWA national champion?
I was not. Um, No, it's very interesting. I'll say this. So Aaron Draven is the guy that originally trained me, and
Okay,
his trainer Rocky Reynolds is a former NWA
World Ju-
junior heavyweight
yeah,
champion.
yeah. That was right when I started getting into the NWA. Um, I I've loved wrestling ever since I was a kid, and I grew up watching the NWA turn into, again, we didn't know any better, but we're like, oh, the NWA became WCW. Didn't know that there was other NWA members besides Jim Crockett Promotions.
Yeah,
And then in like '95, you see Dan Severn entering the octagon with the UFC title. And I know you're just a baby back then, but that was a big deal for us, NWA fans. Like, wow, I got to see this title right here, in the octagon. That's pretty badass. And then you start following it and seeing like, oh no, the NWA is still around. It never really totally disappeared. They're just some of the members switched around and left, and then seeing somebody like Rocky Reynolds, the former world junior heavyweight champion, and Pepper Parks, who is a former national champion. I watched those guys, come in and make their marks and move on and do other things, and it's kind of cool because you've seen, like for me, I saw people like Pepper Parks or Chance Prophet or Damian Wayne, Adam Pierce make their mark in the NWA and then move on and do other things. And now, you look at WWE programming and you see former world champions as the general managers of these brands, and you see like behind the scenes, Steve Carino and Abyss, and they're also former NWA world champions working behind the scenes. And Cody Rhodes, was the top guy for the company for a few years there, and he's a former NWA world champion. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I think you picked the right company to be involved with, because the NWA has created a lot of opportunity for talents over the years. And, obviously, being that Midwest champion was a good step in the right direction. But now, now you're on Power, you're contracted to the NWA roster. We're going to see you on all the Power tapings going forward, and the signature live events. But it is going to be a little bit different for you, because up until recently, you and EC3 were that tag team, the Holy Grail. Probably my favorite entrance at the Crockett Cup. You guys look like rock stars for sure. It,
thank you.
it gave me Fight Club vibes totally when you guys came out. Um, Tell me a little bit about working with EC3 as a tag team. I know the mentor mentee relationship could be taxing at times, because you're learning. But as a tag team, I feel like maybe you guys were more equal than just someone who was your mentor.
Well, the thing is, he's always treated me like an equal, and there are guys that aren't like coachable or there's egos involved. But when it came to us, there was none. Like again, I'm somebody that enjoys learning. I feel like the day that you think that you know everything, you might as well just quit the business, if you're
Yeah.
not making millions of dollars. But it felt nice knowing that I can contribute, and we have similar philosophies when it comes to professional wrestling as is. And I've been in tag teams before, and the way that my offense is set up, I kind of throw people into each other and whatnot. So it's something I can do with anybody. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So It definitely was exciting and an adventure to do something out of my normal comfort zone. But I'm at a point now where I'm comfortable enough in who Pretty Boy Smooth is that I can mesh it anywhere it needs to go. And unfortunately, obviously, he's not there anymore, and he's doing what's best for him, which I totally respect. He's still a brother to me, and I can still take a lot of lessons I've learned from tagging with him and picking his brain. And I still work for Exodus, and he's still accessible to me. So on that front, things haven't changed. But I'm also excited to see what the future holds for me. You know, Billy Corgan values big men, which he told me the first day I met him, and that's something that I feel is lacking nowadays in wrestling. So I feel I'm right where I need to be, and I want to be a big contributor.
We're a few years removed from it, but there was a point in time where like I just felt like the NWA was the land of the giants. I mean, uh, not giants in the sense of that they're 6'9" like yourself, but I mean, there was a murderer's row of guys who were like 6'4", 6'6",
Yeah.
nearly 300 pounds. And I'm talking about the late Jack Stain. You had Tim Storm, you had Trevor Murdoch, you had Mike Knox, and it was just a murderer's row of guys who were big and brawly and could fight in the ring. And I do feel like we're missing that in pro wrestling today. You don't see it as often, especially on the independents. I'm sure you stick out like a sore thumb being 6'9". Most independent shows I go to, I'm 5'9" on a good day, wearing my sneakers that have a little bit of lift to them, and like as tall as most of the talent that I see in the ring. Does that make you, in your mind, does that make you more marketable? Does that make you more desirable for the wrestling promotions and the NWA, or is that something that you feel like 6'9" is not? Let me rephrase that, because
I
six
think
foot
I
nine
get
is
where I think I get where you're going though.
right. Okay.
From a TV standpoint, like an NWA or a TV promotion, absolutely. I do think it's an asset and it can be used properly. It will make you a lot of money. The Indies, not so much. The Indies is a struggle because it seems like a lot of these places just want to book the guys that do the flippy acrobatic stuff that may or may not look choreographed depending on the talent level. And also, like, there's a lot of bookers that don't know how to use big guys,
Yeah.
and I've ran into that a lot. And then you have guys that think that they're big because they're like heavy, but they're 5'9", and then they get in there with me, and they're like thinking that they're gonna like power bomb me and throw me around, and shit doesn't go that way. So it's definitely challenging. So what I try to do is make myself a team player and cover all bases. You know, like obviously you stay in shape. That's a prerequisite of what we do. I'm constantly marketing and cutting promos and things like that. I just I try to do things that make me stand out and show that I can draw for some of these places. And the thing with me is because of my collegiate athletic background, I have friends that know people everywhere. So there's plenty of times I've wrestled in a random place and then some people came to like see me and stuff. And I think I have a lot of knowledge from a wrestling business and psychology standpoint, just from all the people I've learned from that. I truly believe that I bring a lot to the table for a promotion to use me. But again, whether they do or not, I'm still going to figure it out.
And I think, again, talking about having the tools of the trade, and with EC3 and Exodus Pro helping to set that table for you, I'm sure there's been a lot of work on the hows and what's to do when you are in a situation where maybe they don't know exactly how to use you. Um,
Yeah.
you brought up your collegiate career, your history, and I think I read this, and I could be wrong. Your background was in basketball, correct?
Yes.
And what made you opt to move from basketball to pro wrestling, or was wrestling always in the cards for you?
So I've always loved professional wrestling as a kid. I just didn't know anything outside of WWF at the time.
Yeah,
So I didn't know that you could train or go to a school and get into it. So I started originally doing martial arts and then I picked up basketball because being tall, living in the neighborhood I lived in, you got to play. And
yeah.
it was a way to pay for college. So it was around my second year in grad school when I actually found out about independent wrestling, and one thing led to another from there. So as soon as I graduated, I started training.
Wow, that's awesome. So like, and you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but what did you major in?
Oh yeah, this is all public knowledge on my
Okay,
Wikipedia, I think actually. Undergrad was communication, and in grad school I got a master's in organizational leadership.
that's awesome. Okay, so you're not just a deadly threat in the ring; you're also an assassin with the
Oh,
mental game as
oh,
well.
dude, I do a lot. I mean, I have a scholarship in my name. I've acted in independent films. I've done community work. Like it's legit over here.
That's awesome, and I feel like in this day and age, so many people are just like gimme, 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 and I think it's really cool when there are people who are able to give back and do for either the community or the area around them, just to give back. I feel like, especially in this day and age, that's what the world needs a lot more of is the community involvement and giving back to the community. I think is such an understated benefit of good hardworking people is when they
But
do.
that's the thing. Like, in my opinion, if you actually care, you'll do something that is action based as opposed to complain on Facebook all day. That
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
change anything. And I'm not like a online virtue signaler or anything like that. But people in my circle, my friends, people around me, they know my character and who I am, and I try to lead with my actions as opposed to any of that.
And I think that's again, that's what the world needs right now is people who are committed to doing good, And you're right, it's not social media based because we could all jump on social media and say whatever the hell we want. I think a quote I read once was the greatest thing about the internet is everybody has a voice. The worst thing about the internet is everybody has a voice. And
Yeah.
it's like the voice only means so much without action. And you instantly gained more credibility in my eyes, and I respect you so much to hear that you're involved in the community and give back because I think that's something that a lot of people sleep on, and I really feel like that's the measure of morality in this country, and that's not to get on a platform that is not pro wrestling, but I think
No,
that's
I get
what
what you're
we need
saying.
more
Yeah.
of. So again, you said that you were trained by Aaron Draven and then later Pepper Parks. How does Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae work into that? I mean, obviously they're WWE superstars right now. They spent
Yeah.
a lot of time on the independents as well, but how did you get in touch with them and how did you start training with them?
So what happened was I trained in Erie, Pennsylvania under Aaron Draven, and there was only three students. There's only three of us that were in this class. And when we graduated, the school closed down. So at that point, I needed to find another place to train. And the issue I was having then was we only could train when we had a ring up because we didn't have a training center. So what would happen is PWR would run a show once a month. We would get to the venue at 8 o'clock, set the ring up, train for 4 hours, go get some food, come back, work security. And like that was the extent for almost a year of like my in-ring training.
Wow.
Yeah, so it took a lot longer than I would have liked because I'm used to playing basketball where I can get in the gym every day, whatever the case may be. But then I was talking to this one wrestler who actually has been working with NWA off and on, Joe Casio.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because he knows a mutual friend because we're both from Long Island, and he was like, "Yeah, well, if you really want to do this to take it seriously, you may just have to find like other places as safe to train." And I hadn't thought about that at the time. And the two closest schools were IWC in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the AIW school in Cleveland, Ohio. And knowing who Johnny Gargano was and Cleveland being actually closer to me, even though I live in Pennsylvania, I decided to go there. So I would Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons I would drive to Cleveland just to train and come back. And I did that for several years. When Johnny ended up going to WWE and getting signed, that's when I started training at Grapplers Anonymous in Buffalo, and that's when I trained with Pepper Parks and whatnot. And I knew Pepper from before because we've wrestled each other at PWR. So he always extended the invitation for me to come down there. And it was cool to get in there and train with Deo Garcia and those guys.
Wow.
And then I've also done a ton of seminars. I trained out of state with Michael Elgin for a little bit back in the day in St. Louis. And I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting some places, but I was, like I said, I was always in the car, always on the road, always trying to learn something. So
somebody at 6'9" being in the car that much, I'm sure that's gotta suck.
Yeah, and then what also was, this didn't suck, but it was kind of funny. Like everyone that trained me works a fairly cruiserweight style
Yeah.
when you think about it. So like I didn't actually learn how to really be a big man until I got to wrestle certain guys that taught me things. So for example, wrestling John Davis. He is a big mentor for me in terms of like the in-ring things I would learn. Shug D's up there, Bill Collier's one of them. And then like when I finally started working with EC3, everything really started clicking for me better.
I had a chance to talk to Mike Knox back in, I guess, right after the injury, right after the anniversary show, and he was telling me like he was bummed that he was hurt because he said he was really looking forward to working against you. Two big men. There's you, there's Talos, and there's Mike Knox, and I don't think there's anyone bigger than the three of you guys in the NWA currently. What does it mean when you have a big guy working with another big guy? Like, is there stuff that you could still learn today in that ring when you're in the ring with like a Mike Knox or somebody like Talos, who's also a very large guy?
I think you can always learn somebody because we all have different experiences. The greatest thing for me, and I don't think this is as prevalent now with like the rise of social media, but when I was coming up, and this makes me sound old, you really needed to travel state to state to learn how to work different styles because a crowd in the Midwest isn't going to respond how a crowd in the East Coast responds to stuff. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
I grew up running the circuits like that. And then when you have a guy that has the experience of like a Mike Knox or a Trevor Murdoch and stuff, you want to pick their brain because they've been a lot of places you want to be. You know what I'm saying? They've seen the strengths and weaknesses of everything, and they can see things that I don't. So when it comes to me in the ring, like I'm authentic to who I am and things like that, but I'm never afraid to keep an open mind with whoever I'm working with, big, small, whoever.
Now this one's kind of out of left field, but I'm going to ask you anyways. While world champion EC3 took the title to All Japan and was the first world champion to defend uh, since Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in 1989 in All Japan Pro Wrestling. And right now we see somebody like Talos, who's having a lot of success in All Japan Pro Wrestling. For you, is that something that you would be interested in potentially reaching out or expanding your horizons and working in Japan with like a promotion like All Japan Pro Wrestling or something to that nature?
Oh yeah, if there's an opportunity for it, I would absolutely be down to do it. I don't know for how long,
Yeah,
but no, I would definitely try it.
I guess it's safe to say that the NWA is your home now. So I guess most of your emphasis will be on the National Wrestling Alliance, and you look up and down that roster of you've got your TV champion in Brian Idol, your national champion in Mike Mondo, and of course Thrillbilly Silas Mason is the world's heavyweight champion. And I have to ask you, uh, you know, as you center in now what we all assume is going to be the singles portion of your career on NWA Power, which direction are you looking to head to first?
My direction is to really just let people know I'm here. Like I call myself the most dominant giant in professional wrestling for a reason, and the goal is to make everyone in that crowd and everyone in that locker room know that I am who I say I am, and then see what falls from there. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So now let's go back in time a little bit because you did say something that hit my brain, and I always am curious as the stories. You grew up being a fan of the WWF, and of course being in Long Island in New York, and having that East Coast kind of representation for the WWF WWE. Who did you grow up watching? Who were your influences, if you had some back then?
I'd say The Rock, Stone Cold, DX. I loved Kane, Shawn Michaels. One of my favorites was Test. So I do pattern a little bit of my offense after him. But yeah, those I would say those were like the main ones I could think of.
And Was that like a family thing for you? Like, did you guys watch wrestling as a family, or is that something that you had to sneak in and do it in the middle of the night when no one was
Yeah,
watching?
yeah. So what I was initially introduced to professional wrestling by my grandma because she would like babysit me and my cousin, and she was always watching it. And she would have on like The Rock and Kane; those were her favorites. And my dad's always worked like 4 to 5 jobs my entire life. So whenever he would get home late at night and we had like an hour to like hang out, Monday Night Raw would be on. So we would watch that together. So it's always been like a bonding thing, and that's where my initial love came for it. And then when I finally started training, everything kind of came full circle.
That's awesome. I grew up in a house where my mom was always like, "Oh, if you guys want to get the pay per view, we can watch the pay per view." And I'm like, oh, "Okay." So we would watch the WrestleManias, the Summer Slams, and then we would get the WCW pay per views too. So we were watching Starcade and Halloween Havoc, and my mom hated Ric Flair with this passion, right? And I never really understood why she would get so mad at the wrestlers and we're never gonna watch these pay per views again. And then the next month came and we're like, "Hey, mom, Sting's got a shot at Ric Flair. What do you think?" She's okay, we'll get it. And it turns out that my mom grew up watching wrestling at the Grand Olympic Auditorium with Gorgeous George back in the early 50s. But we never knew that growing up. We just thought, "Oh, mom's so cool letting us watch wrestling." No, she was a mark too. So she
Mm.
was all about watching that wrestling too. When you got into the business, was that a big moment for your family? Like, was your father, your grandmother, did they get to see you step in the ring?
Uh, they so when I first got into wrestling, nobody wanted me to do it. There was the, oh, you're gonna get injured, or oh, this is stupid. Like there's a lot of that. Um, my I don't think my parents necessarily agreed with it, but they support me in my decisions. But I was kind of on my own, like I had to. This wasn't like me growing up and them paying for like AAU travel basketball. Like I had to like fund it, really prove that I wanted to do this. So it was my mom came to like one show when I first started. Obviously, I was terrible. Like
Yeah.
when I wrestled in Queens, but they recently they saw me when I wrestled Myron for the Midwest title. Like they actually came out to Erie, Pennsylvania,
It's cool.
and they saw like the crowd and how they took to me, and they even got a standing ovation. And like it finally got to a point where they're like, all right, well, I see this is like serious. And then when I did NWA in Alabama, my
Okay.
mom flew out to that one because both my parents are originally from Alabama and she still has
Okay.
family down there. So her, my auntie, and her husband, like they came to see me wrestle with NWA out there, and like them getting to see it like from a TV perspective and stuff, and now they get to see me on Roku. Like they're very proud of me. They're very excited. They're very happy, and
That's
it's nice to see it come full. Like obviously, it's been 10 years and it took some time, but they were around for the journey and they saw me grow and keep trying, getting mad at me for sleeping in my car or driving 8 hours here and 8 hours there, but it paid off.
I mean, that's really cool, man, and that's something that I think you'll always be able to look back on, no matter where you go in this career, no matter how far you go. Those moments where you just said sleeping in the car, driving 8 hours, but then having those moments where your family got to see you at some of the best parts of your career, and hopefully, the best is still yet to come. Because again, we're entering a new year with Power. The tapings are going to be this February 21st. Two back-to-back tapings. I do believe they're going to be filming stuff for the Crockett Cup, although I'm not holding you to that, and you didn't say that. That's just my assumption. Uh, but do you know what you're doing yet for the tapings, or is it still kind of just a wait and see, or they'll let you know when you get there?
Yeah, I never know anything. I just try to show up in the best shape I can, in the best mental state I can, my gear looking fresh, like every, you know what I mean? I just try to show up ready to work. And then we just see how it plays out.
Where are some of the venues that you have been blown away that to work at? Like for me, I'm always proud for you guys to see you at the ECW arena because of what that venue meant and the history that it had with the NWA. Obviously, it wasn't a positive one, but seeing that the NWA is still there and running that venue twice a year is pretty cool to me. And having been able to be a part of the Crockett Cup last year and then the year before the anniversary show, both taking place at the ECW arena. To me, that was like hallowed, sacred ground, and for you guys to be able to wrestle there, I think that's pretty cool. Has there been any other venue like that for you where it's like, this is pretty cool? This my career has brought me to this building to wrestle this match.
Well, yeah. Going back to the ECW arena, I didn't really watch that stuff growing up. So when I found out the the prestige and the lore behind the building and the venue and stuff, I got more excited to be there because I would see all these people post these photos in this bathroom with all these signatures, and I'm just
Yeah,
like, what the hell is this? And like I'm like, cool, I'll go. I didn't sign it, but I took a picture by it. But it
yeah.
was just cool to like see that. I also wrestled when I wrestled JTG in Vegas. It was at like a big convention they had, and there was like so many people. It was and like you would see people see how big I am, and they would just come by the ring just to watch the show. Like you know what I mean? Like I like stuff like that. It's very interactive. But as of now, I would say like the ECW arena was pretty dope for sure.
Were you a part of? And I apologize for not knowing. It wasn't televised, so I'm not sure. But did you come out to California for the grilled cheese
No, I wasn't
festival?
on that one.
Okay. Well, maybe next year, when if it happens again this year, maybe you'll be out there now that you're under contract, man. They got to get their use out of you, right? Uh,
Yeah,
have
I
you?
mean, I don't like being outdoors, but if they tell me I gotta go, I'm doing it.
Wait, but get the grilled cheese, man. Like it's the wrestling and the
I'm
grilled
lactose
cheese.
intolerant.
Oh no! Well, that's a bummer. Um,
Yeah.
I don't have a positive spin on that at all. My daughter is gluten intolerant, so in our house we do a lot of the gluten free bread and stuff. But uh, lactose, that's rough, man.
Yeah, I
Um,
can eat it, but I'm gonna regret it afterwards.
and it's funny you say that because my wife, she thinks she's lactose intolerant, but she hasn't been tested, and it's like, you're still eating all that stuff, like, honey, like maybe that's not the
Well,
best idea.
well, you'll know because you'll start feeling like you're allergic and like you'll get all stuffy and stuff
Is it stuffy
outside
too?
of the stomach issues.
See, like she just feels the stomach issue, so that's good to know that maybe some stuffy if she's not experiencing this. So my daughter with the gluten allergy, and I know we're talking about wrestling, but it literally was stunting her growth. As soon as we took her off of gluten products, she grew like almost like 6 inches. It's crazy. She like she's 12 now. When we found out she was 10, and like literally almost overnight, we took her off gluten, and she just shot up.
That's insane.
Genetics is weird, man. I know I didn't want to keep you too long. Of course, Power is going to hit the airwaves in a short amount of time. You guys could watch that on the Roku app. And of course, the Tampa tapings are taking place on the 21st of this month. And then we go back to Exodus Pro on March 20th for its next big event where you and Pastor CeeLo will be challenging TME for the Exodus Pro tag team titles. What has your experience been teaming with Pastor CeeLo? And I'll be honest, I didn't know much about Pastor CeeLo until you brought him into the NWA, and I didn't know he could wrestle. But I watched you guys on the last Exodus Pro show, and I was pleasantly surprised about how good he looked in the ring and how good you guys looked as a tag team.
Yeah, Pastor CeeLo is probably one of the most charismatic people I've ever met in my life. Um, he's always on. He's always going. He's a good vibe. We had chemistry just off of just being able to flow off each other. Like we don't like plan anything in terms of like promos and stuff like that. It's kind of like my other tag partner, Jay Bougie out of New York for ETU in a different sense. But there's a lot of upside to him. He has a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see where things take off with him.
Well, and again, the Crockett Cup, I mean, anything is up for grabs. And I mean, last year, if you told me that you and EC3 would have been in the semifinals of the Crockett Cup, I would have been surprised. And that's not a shot at you guys. It's just didn't see you guys teaming before, and you guys really complemented each other well. I was very happy to see your level of success there. And again, I recently just went back and rewatched the match against the Southern Six, and you know Taylor and Morton had been teaming for a while. They had won the Crockett Cup the year before, so there's no shame in losing to those guys. But I never felt like you and EC3 looked out of the element in the whole tournament. You guys looked really solid, and actually, I think I said it wrong. You guys beat Morton and Taylor and lost to the Colones. So
Yeah.
no shame in losing to the Colones either. They're former WWF tag team champions. But again, I think it's interesting to see the process. Like we were introduced to you as the Midwest champion. We saw you against Baron von Storm in Forney, Texas, and now we were watching you at the Crockett Cup, you and EC3 as a tag team, and now the next evolution is what's going to be next for Pretty Boy Smooth, the Urban Playa. We're going to see you as a single star, or maybe they have a new tag team partner for you. I don't know, but I'm very interested to see what's going to be next for you.
Yeah, I am too. I'll tell you what though, if I'm a single star, that's exactly what I'm gonna be. A star.
Well, and again, we talked about it earlier, being 6'9", and I don't mean to sound stupid here, but you literally stand out from everybody else. You look different. You have a different, unique appearance, and being 6'9", you're taller than most of the other guys in the ring that you're with, and not that I get to say anything. I'm not in charge, but I honestly think, like, let's capitalize on your uniqueness. Let's capitalize on your look and your abilities in the ring, and let's see what you can bring to the table as a singles competitor in the NWA. And again, there's 3 different paths you can go. TV title, national title, world title. All points lead to Thrillbilly Silas Mason, and I think that would be a fun match too.
Absolutely. Like I said, I just show up. I'm ready to work.
Well, I do appreciate your time, and I'm not going to keep you any longer, but best of luck on the 21st and again on March 20th. And of course, I do have your socials listed in the video description so people can follow you on let's see, we got Instagram, Pretty Boy Smooth. You have a shop on Big Cartel. You're also on X and Facebook. And then you have your Patreon and YouTube channels folks can subscribe to and be a part of the Patreon as well. Is there anything else you would like to plug before we call it a night?
No, you got it. I mean, prettyboysmooth.com has every link on there, from Wikipedia to Linktree to all that, to my scholarship information, everything.
That's awesome, man. Well, again, best of luck to you on everything that's coming up for you. And I'm for sure looking forward to seeing what's next for you personally in the NWA, because I think it's your time now, and I can't wait to see what they have lined up for you.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Pretty Boy Smooth. Make sure you give him a follow on all the socials. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are the